Before they came and etched their legacies in stone, this land held its own for thousands of years. The Europeans arrived not with peace, but with plans. In the spring of 1801, young Charles Bennett took 14-year-old Sarah Purnell as his bride, joining two prominent families across Maryland and Virginia. Not long after, her brother Benjamin fell deathly ill from yellow fever. When Sarah herself took to bed, the family called on their trusted friend, Dr. Hunn, to come down to Worcester County. While Charles struggled with his feelings, Dr. Hunn had begun circling Margaret Purnell with his own intentions in mind. Charles's father sent him south to manage the Purnell estate, but Josias Bennett, a free man of mixed blood, ran the daily dealings for the white Bennetts. In Northampton, Charles crossed paths with Annette again. She had grown into a woman of grace and quiet strength. Charles returned from Northampton with the weight of duty on his back, only to find the house in silence and Sarah alone, pale and gasping for breath. He found them. Margaret and Dr. Hunn were in the back quarters, tangled in betrayal. Hunn bolted toward Sarah's bedside, but the damage was done. Charles stood still, heart clenched, not in sorrow, but in reckoning.
I'm really very sorry,
She was his
Charles.
wife, Margaret's twin, and the last thread tying two legacies together. Yet no physician stood watch, no sister at her side. Lust where there should have been loyalty. What he saw stripped him bare, not just of affection, but of illusion. Annette waited on the porch, the weight of everything she should not feel written across her face. When Charles stepped toward her, neither of them spoke. They didn't have to. The truth had already found its way between them. He leaned into her arms because she was the only place he felt understood. She held him because she could no longer pretend she didn't love him. They both knew the marriage to Margaret had nothing to do with choice. It was an obligation, legacy, a decision made long before either of them had a voice in it. In those moments, their fathers took their place on opposite sides of the story. Annette's father stood watchful and weary, knowing what danger love could bring to a family like theirs. Charles's father carried the expectations of land, money, and reputation. Both men saw what was growing between Charles and Annette. Both knew it had to be stopped. Their love was real, but it was forbidden, and every force around them was prepared to pull them apart. In October of 1805, the Bennett family hosted their autumn masquerade, a grand gathering held each year as the harvest season drew to a close. Josias Bennett spared no expense. The chandeliers burned bright, the walls draped in autumn colors, and guests arrived in elaborate masks to celebrate the turning of the season. Charles attended under the guise of family duty, but everyone who knew him understood there was another reason he crossed that threshold. Annette Bennett. She stood among her kin, radiant in her costume, the soft candlelight catching the gold of her mask. Mixed race, free, and born into privilege, she still carried the weight of rules written long before her time. The moment the musicians struck a new tune, Charles saw his chance. He stepped toward her with a boldness he had never dared before. Annette hesitated only for a breath, then placed her hand in his. They moved together across the floor as masked guests watched in silence. Two young people dancing a dance that their families had made impossible. A choice made in front of everyone, yet spoken by no one. Josias Bennett noticed first. His expression sharpened. Across the room, Charles's father stiffened. Their eyes met in unspoken agreement. This union could not happen. But their disapproval only deepened what had already taken root. Annette felt the truth in every step. Charles carried it in every turn. And by the end of the night, the distance between them had narrowed beyond repair. The ball ended as it always did, but October would not be forgotten. It became the beginning of a love their families tried to forbid, and the night that set the path toward the child they would later conceive. Anne. born from a moment neither of them could walk away from. Before duty wore a name and bloodlines built empires, there were choices made in silence. They called it honor. But honor, too, can become a prison. Behind lace and land, Margaret was promised. Charles was bartered. Annette was hidden, and Anne was born into a world shaped by shadows. Each carried a mantle not of their own making. In the house of Bennett, legacy was gold-plated, shining, rigid, and cold. To step outside, it was to risk everything. To stay inside was to disappear. What they could not name, they controlled. What they could not kill, they silenced. But even cages with golden bars begin to crack. This is not just a story of betrayal. It is a story of inheritance. Not the wealth they were given, but the silence they refused to pass on.